This 1 Degree Outside video is sponsored by Fiesta Shows. Have fun with the whole family. August 8th through 10th at the Bolton Fair with Fiesta Shows. It's rides, games, live entertainment, and delicious food. Don't miss out. Skip the ticket line and save using promo code 1Degree at fiesta.onedegreeoutside.com. Thursday Insights Deep Dive into meteorology. Looking out to the next several days, that means plenty of focus on the weekend coming up right here. Hi, Meteorologist Matt Noyes, 1 Degree Outside Weather Network. In this video, we'll be talking about the Bolton Fair. It has arrived. A lot of fun to be had this weekend. Great air is going to continue for us. Isolated storms are here and there. We'll talk about that. And humidity, it's coming back next week. If you're a member and you have access to that 14-day dew point forecast, you've seen that already. But let's go ahead and dive into the Bolton Fair first. You've been hearing about it at the start of all of our videos this week, right? The Bolton Fair Fiesta Shows has made a great partnership with us where you can take advantage of that. If you want to go to the Bolton Fair, go to fiesta.onedegreeoutside.com. Use the promo code 1Degree, the number 1 degree, and you'll be able to get money off to have a great time. And I got to tell you, the weather looks amazing for the Bolton Fair. 83, 84, and 88. Definitely warmest on Sunday, but the air is comfortable all the way through. What a weekend. It is amazing. Big tip of the cap, too, to our 1 Degree Outside champions, O'Brien's Garden Center in Danvers, Massachusetts. Please keep them in mind for any of your gardening needs, and Gate City Reflexology and Massage in Nashua, New Hampshire for your own body needs, right? How do you get a shout out like that? How did they get that? They're 1 Degree Outside champions. Any small business or individual can do that, but it's all at membership.onedegreeoutside.com. All right, let's dive in. You know, over the course of the last 7 days, we've had some rain here in New England. Most of the rain has been down to our south, but certainly we picked up an inch or two in spots, and that helped. But notice that if you were outside of that band, you didn't get much over the last week. And if you're south of that, you didn't get much either. And that's why, actually, when you look at rainfall deficit running over the last 30 days, we've got it adding up across a lot of northern New England, and it's been adding up on the Cape. This has resulted in drought for some, but not many. We do have drought that continues in the western United States, but the latest drought monitor came out today. It is the University and Government Consortium that takes stock of where we're at in terms of ground moisture, recent rainfall. So we remain in moderate drought on the Cape. Biggest change in New England over the last week is the expansion of abnormally dry conditions. Not drought, but abnormally dry conditions when you get across the northern half of New England outside of that band of rain. Of course, we've been dealing with the wildfire smoke and more of that still spilling down out of Canada, but it's not as bad as it was. It isn't really at the surface anymore at all. If you look at smoke through a deeper layer of the atmosphere, you can actually see it in the sky today a little bit, especially if you look out toward the horizon. That'll be the case again during the course of the day on Friday. Thickest when you get across northern New England, but again, a lot of this not really at the surface, mostly aloft, and just adds that gray look to the sky. Dexter has become non-tropical, what's known as extratropical, a non-tropical system now over the northern Atlantic. Watching one area of low pressure off the coast, a low chance of development into a tropical system over the next 7 days. But as it buzzes by to our south, it will continue to feed a little bit of swell in our direction, and then a higher chance of development when you get out into the central Atlantic, not in the next couple of days. A lot of Saharan dust to be found here, but as it comes out into, let's say, the western half of the Atlantic, then the conditions become a little bit more favorable. So I mentioned the swell that came off of Dexter and the next system that goes by to our south. Well, that has brought a rip current risk for tomorrow, but it's down from where it was today. It's going to be moderate in spots, and that would be about it. At the jet stream level, we're starting to see the beginnings of the ridge that will be taking shape. It's going to build east, and we are going to end up underneath that big ridge of high pressure that will continue to be on top of us. Look at that, kind of cresting as we head to the upcoming weekend, and that's why at the surface, look, it's just going to be high pressure that builds in for days on end. We are between systems, a mess down to the south, thunderstorms off to the west heading into the weekend. But here at home, you have this nice wedge of dry and fair weather that'll be with us. And boy, is that reflected in the forecast. Now, I had mentioned an isolated shower or storm. We've seen that each afternoon. In fact, they were a little bit more than isolated. They were more scattered yesterday across the Green Mountains. We think today will be the same thing from the Berkshires to the Greens, running into the Whites. And some of that stuff in the Berkshires, by the way, lasted early this morning. Well, take a look. Tomorrow, we do it again. This time, maybe all the way down to the Lakes region, maybe all the way down to the Monadnock region for, again, an isolated storm that'll pop up. Not so much in the southern half of New England. And yes, there is enough warmth in play that you can look at a severe thunderstorm here and there where it develops. As a matter of fact, because the air isn't that humid, dry air tends to cool when you add water. So what you're doing is you're cooling the air in these thunderstorms, and you're getting, perhaps in some spots, an isolated damaging wind gust that can develop inside these storms, even though there's not many around, and even though it's not that humid. We get into Saturday, and it looks awesome. Sunday looks awesome. Good stuff for us. And even into next week, as the heat builds and the humidity starts to come back, you really are still under that big stacked ridge of high pressure. So you do get a return of humidity, but you don't get a lot in the way of rain chances. Now, as we get out to next week, there is that humidity that comes back to us Monday into Tuesday and remains elevated, that dew point running 65 to 70. Just a reminder, if you're one of our 1 Degree Outside members, you can actually get that 14-day dew point forecast every single day. All right, meanwhile, if you go day by day, Friday, we're into the 80s again. The isolated to scattered storms in the mountains, northern, western New England, but maybe the Lakes region, Monadnock region of central and southern New Hampshire by the afternoon. It all melts away Friday night. And because the air is not that humid, you do get down to the 50s for lows Friday night. Saturday, 80s. Saturday night, if you're doing any camping, very comfortable, very nice overall. Sunday, up around 90, but the humidity really hasn't built a whole lot at that point. Remember, that takes until next week. And then Sunday night, mid-60s. And again, you'll notice the humidity start to climb as we get to next week and highs go back into the 90s. So air conditioning probably goes back on next week, unless you're like us and it's broken. Such is life. These things do happen. Nonetheless, thankfully, the nights have been cool. Just a reminder, you can get the 14-day forecast, and the only forecast you need to know, search the 1 Degree Outside weather app on the App Store and Google Play. Look forward to seeing you again later on with more from 1 Degree Outside.